In today's video, I'm going to bring you along with me to Able Light Thrift Store, which is in Minnetonka, Minnesota. It's truly one of my favorite community thrift stores in the Twin Cities. Their mission is to help people with developmental disabilities, and their pricing is very fair. The store is packed full with a ton of goodies. My last video I went to Opitz Outlet, and if you haven't checked that one out, be sure to, because they are very close together. It would be a perfect afternoon if you hit both Able Light Thrift and Opitz Outlet for any sort of clothing that you need. And I always forget to say it, and I think I'm supposed to. If you like this content, please like and subscribe to my videos. I always forget to say that, and I think I am supposed to do that. So, all right, let's go. So today we're heading into Able Light Thrift Store, and I've been here before and brought you along, but I wanted to profile them again. Their mission is awesome. Their store is huge and clean, and right off the bat, 50% off. If you're new to my channel, I wanted to share a little bit quickly about who we are. I started reselling at the end of 2017. I did that part-time for a couple years while I was working, and I was caring for my mom during COVID. She passed away summer of 22, and then I quit that job at the end of 2022. And my husband and I decided it was time for a change, and it was time to start doing things we love. So I began a journey of reselling on eBay and Poshmark. We became dog walkers on the Rover app. I started this YouTube channel just because I was watching other resellers. I thought, well, I could try that. My husband works 2 mornings a week early at a men's and women's clothing store that we're friends with the owner, and he teaches kids how to hit baseballs. He's a youth hitting instructor in our community. So we are doing things now in retirement that we love, and we're able to make money doing it part-time, sort of, well, full-time, part-time. We do it all the time. It doesn't feel like work, so I don't know if we're part-time or full-time. We're just doing what we love. So back to Able Light. You can see that the pricing is just very fair. And I wanted to bring you back into the store because their mission is, I'm going to read it from the website, through Christian love, Able Light wholeheartedly supports and advocates for people with developmental disabilities to ensure they have security, dignity, and hope. Our vision, we envision a world where all people with developmental disabilities are loved, secure, and flourishing in their communities. So easy mission to get behind. And what I like about this store is the donations are nice, they're quality, and I talked about this before. The last time I asked, each of the employees have a section or an area that they're responsible for. I believe it's run by mostly volunteers. I know that there's paid staff as well at the front, but I believe, and don't quote me, I believe, if you know, let me know. I believe that the stocking and the back room where they take in donations is volunteer based. So they bring in these lovely donations that are quality, and they price them, as you see, accordingly. And I like selling hard goods. I do sell clothing, but when I go into these thrift stores, I typically profile their hard goods sections. To me, it's more interesting. There's less returns. So if you are a collector, if you are a reseller, if you just prefer to shop secondhand, my channel is all about taking you around the Twin Cities, primarily Minneapolis side of the western side of Minneapolis. That's where we live. And I am bringing you along to just show you what it is I pick up and maybe why I pick up those items. And again, I focus in on the hard goods. I find vintage things more interesting, more quality. I don't really have them in my home so much. I've kind of stopped shopping at our age. We're 62. Brian's going to be 70 next year. So at our age, there isn't much more that I need. I ended up selling off my mother's possessions when she passed away, so I had a lot of her things, and I think that was where the interest started in reselling vintage items. I'm an only child, and it was during COVID, and we were on lockdown, and my husband and she lived very close to us. My husband and I had a lot to do to get her out of her townhome and into assisted living during that time. So I think that's where my interest started with learning more about vintage items. She was a collector, but she was also really organized, but she saved a lot of things. So we had a lot of things to go through. And I just found that people were interested and there was just more value in these items versus her clothing. I donated all of her clothing. A lot of it came here. I picked organizations I just believed more in their missions and I wanted to support them versus I do shop at the Goodwill, and I've just noticed lately that perhaps maybe their pricing is coming down a little bit. The last couple of videos that I did there, it seemed more reasonable. But I don't know if you agree. I just find that the community thrift stores tend to, I feel like if people had a choice and if both were at, if the Goodwill and community thrifts were equidistance apart, that people would choose to donate their items where they feel like it would be going for a good cause. And I know Goodwill has some people aren't always, they don't always love the mission or they don't believe in what is happening at Goodwill. I won't get into that, I guess, but I ended up during that time finding a wheelchair. Bought her a couple of walkers, but we found a very small, petite little wheelchair here for like, I don't know, $12 or something crazy. And we literally needed it that day. We walked in here and brought it back out. I was so thankful. They have items like that in the middle of the store with their furniture. So mobility items that when you need it, you need it. And the issue of caring for her came hard and fast and quick, and we needed it that day. And places like Goodwill, I've never seen like mobility things there the times I've been there. I've been in here during the holidays and they play Christmas music and it's just a nice feel. It's clean, it's packed with inventory. At this point, you'll see all of these items are in bins and they are 25 cents each. And if you had the time to look through, you could probably find some really lovely flatware and kitchenware in this section. So I'm going to set this to music for a little bit and let you browse with me, and I will pop back. This lamp was interesting. I believe it was a lamp. It had a plug, and there is a place in the store that you can test things. So I believe their things are already tested, but I love the fact that you can test them before you bring them home. I think that was quite a find for someone who liked Southwest style. That was beautiful. This one was cute too. So you can see from the things that I've shown you and the amount of items that they have some nice inventory. And this store is located in Minnetonka on Highways 101 and 7 in a little strip mall next to Cub Foods. Target's across the street. So you can make a day of it going to Able Light and Opitz Outlet. There's Tonkadale Nursery. And don't forget the general store. That could be one of the coolest stores in the West Metro. The general store, it looks like an old barn. It's off of Highway 7 as well. So you could absolutely make a day of it if you want to head to Minnetonka and peek at all of these wonderful stores they have out here. A friend of mine's mother does quilting and crafting, and she's always looking for fabric. Fabric, you can find really great deals on fabric at thrift stores. People in vintage fabric, because I think what happens a lot of times it ends up in a pile somewhere and you determine for whatever reason it's no longer needed, but you maybe haven't looked at it for a while. So I have seen some really, really unique vintage fabric that make for really reasonable prices that make its way to the thrift store. I've seen the brand Crowsill. I've picked up and actually used to have it in the 90s. People still collect vintage bathroom ware, ceramic toothbrush holders and soap dishes. That and the other thing that I look for, brushes. You would be surprised if you're a reseller how much vintage, remember that name Goody, the brand Goody? If they're new in package, how much those will go for. People, I guess maybe from their childhood. This was cool. This was an acrylic jewelry box. And when I turned it over, it was newer. But that reminded me of something from the 70s. So I'm always looking for items for resale. I'm not looking really to purchase for myself or for our home anymore, like I said, but there is absolutely something for everyone. I didn't even get to today. They have Christmas all year round, Easter holiday. The book selection is so reasonably priced. They have toys, they have clothing. I could do a whole nother video on just that section of the store. Where I'm at is more, that was plastic. I always do the tapping. Where I was more the perimeter of the store, but there is another entire section of clothing. One thing, I have found some good vintage items in here, and I don't know, I've done well, and I like to sell vintage clothing. This is the other items that I pick up is ceramic cat bowls. back to vintage clothing, children's vintage clothing. I love to sell that. A lot of times I'll put it in a lot, meaning I'll group it together, but there is still a need and a want, a desire for children's vintage clothing. Just this week, I sold two Gymboree jackets that were my children's. My kids are 29, our kids are 29 and 33. I couldn't part with their baby clothes. And I've had these items for sale for a really long time. And it was the same buyer. She bought one jacket and then turned around and bought another one after. So I sold two little jackets from the 90s. So I had the sentimental value, but it did get easier as the kids got older. And so during COVID, I just shopped in my basement storage room and I had so much inventory. I'm still trying to get rid of some things. So let's keep going. And we're going to end here with the jewelry. They had a lovely selection of jewelry, and I follow some resellers that are able to earmark some 90s jewelry, some sterling silver jewelry. If you had the time and the interest, this is an area, and maybe I talk about, I'm going to keep this on the screen if you're interested in the pricing because it's very, very fair. If down the road, if I choose to really downsize my inventory and just sell a few items, I've talked about vintage scarves. I sold one this week for $20, I believe. Jewelry, belts. I want to learn more about jewelry. If you know of any sites that you watch that explain how to learn more. I beads and I don't glass beads. I don't know a lot about it, but I am looking in the future to learn more about jewelry and how to look for the good stuff. I know that there's resellers out there that focus primarily on this jewelry, and I'm ready to learn. So I'm going to leave you here with just an encouragement to stop in here. I know that you will absolutely not be disappointed shopping at Able Light.